expand NATO right up to Vladimir Putin's borders. And look, the truth is that
expanded. It's already expanded right up to Vladimir Putin's border.
And I didn't say it wasn't.
If you can't, David, but Dave, again, every time I'm on with you, you accuse me of immature thinking. Granted, nothing is totally black and white, but would you not say generally over the course of history, here we go again, NATO has generally been kind of a force for good? Yeah?
No.
Dave Smith went on Piers Morgan Uncensored and took on an entire woke panel, including Cenk Uygur here that you could see in the middle, who's already very unhappy with what's going on right here on the screen. But let's get into this clip here where Dave Smith shuts down this entire woke panel. Dave Smith is one of my favorite people when it comes to these debates because I align with him on almost every single thing that comes out of his mouth. I feel like he's one of the only no-nonsense people out there that goes on these shows and that hasn't been completely canceled and wiped from the face of the internet. Anyway, let's get into this clip here where Dave Smith shuts down Cenk Uygur, stuns Piers Morgan with this brutal takedown of this woke panel here.
Emmanuel Macron was there Monday, and Trump is quite right, in my opinion, about the disparity between what America contributes to NATO in terms of resource, money, weaponry, and so on, compared to the European countries. And through his own hectoring about this, many of the other NATO countries are now paying a lot more money than they were before into NATO. But he's also right that ultimately Europe should be moving quickly to be able to secure itself collectively from people like Vladimir Putin. And I don't understand why there's any kickback to that. I think what the UK spends about 2.3% of GDP on defense. It's nowhere near enough. We live in dangerous times. And I think that Trump is very, very accurate in saying Europe is not punching its weight and needs to do that. And people dismiss it as America first, isolationism, and so on. Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean to say he's not right. I do think that many European countries need to wake up.
Well, and Pierce, and they have the last 4 years while Trump wasn't in the White House. European nations dramatically increased their share to NATO. Europe has contributed more to Ukraine than the United States did. But Pierce, to this notion of encroachment of NATO.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You either believe NATO's a good thing or a bad thing. There's a reason why countries like Finland and so many other European countries want to be in NATO. It's a good thing. It's a defensive alliance for freedom-loving democratic nations. Encroaching upon Russia, NATO's a good thing, Pierce. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, but what about the point? Yeah, but hang on. What about the point Dave Smith made, which is surely correct? If it was America and there was a country doing this, I think America would respond very aggressively to what they would perceive as an encroachment.
Well, again, that aside for 1 second, what are we to do? Finland wanted to join NATO. Finland now shares almost 1,000 miles of border with Russia. And Putin screamed to the high heavens that if Finland joined NATO, there'd be hell to pay. Nothing's happened. What do we do, Pierce? What do we do, Pierce, if peace-loving nations in Europe
the answer is obvious. Look, Joe, I mean, look, aside from this, I mean, I got to say, I find it to be very immature thinking to say NATO's either good or bad. Like, I don't think that's ever how you should analyze the world. And you can say, I know you and Pierce, you and Tucker had your argument about this, but if you want to say NATO's a defensive alliance, I mean, I guess, except for all of the times when it's not, except for Serbia and Libya and Afghanistan. But okay, if you want to claim NATO as a defensive alliance, look, what we should do is not expand it. And I'm sorry, but who cares if other countries desire to join NATO? That's not how we should be making these decisions. Of course, lots of countries would love to join NATO. I'm sure a huge majority of them, because, yeah, you get your defense subsidized and you get protection from the most powerful government in the history of the world, the United States of America. But that's not the question. The point is, why would we want to expand NATO right up to Vladimir Putin's borders? And look, the truth is that
it's already expanded right up to Vladimir Putin's border.
I didn't say it wasn't.
If you can't, David, but Dave, again, every time I'm on with you, you accuse me of immature thinking. Granted, nothing is totally black and white, but would you not say generally over the course of history, here we go again, NATO has generally been kind of a force for good? Yeah?
No.
It's a dude. I don't know who this guy is. I'm gonna be honest with you. It looks like he has some, like, he looks like he might have run for office before, or like he's trying to run for office currently. So maybe he's trying to get on the establishment's good side. But Dave Smith is just speaking facts that I don't understand how anyone can disagree with him. You know, Piers Morgan agrees. I think even Cenk Uygur might agree. I'm not sure. But it's hard to disagree because this guy is saying that NATO is a force for good. NATO is only a force for good if you look at it from our perspective. How are you old enough to have gray hair and you still don't understand that we have been brainwashed throughout the school system and from mainstream media to think that our perspective is always the correct one, is always the quote unquote good one. From the good side, we're the good guys. That's not how it is. Like Dave Smith just said, and like Piers Morgan just said, if you swap out Russia and their literal situation where there's NATO, right? Let's say America is not in NATO and Russia took our place. If we are where Russia is and NATO is encroaching on our territory, and yes, they're already there, right? But the more and more countries that they get inside of NATO that are touching Russia or America in this instance, the more threatened we feel. Wouldn't it be the good thing to do to retaliate and defend yourself? That's what this guy is missing. We're only the good guys in this situation because you're looking at it from an American perspective. And I'm not one of those American hating losers. I love the country and that's why I live here. But it doesn't make any sense with this guy, the argument this guy's thinking. It is immature thinking, 100%. Dave Smith is correct. I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments because I think it's pretty obvious and I think it's very hard to disagree with what Dave Smith is saying here. I think it's extremely hard to disagree. It's exactly how I think about the situation too. You know, it's like, why are these countries like Finland, why are we obligated to let them into NATO just simply because they want in? You know, I would love to see this guy's take on the border situation. Are we inclined to take in every single person that wants to come through the border just simply because they want in? That doesn't make any sense. Just because they want in doesn't mean we need to take them. Like, what benefit are we getting from that? What benefit are we getting from that? More tax dollars get to go spent in another foreign nation if they get under attack or if they feel threatened. We got to send more weapons over there. You know, our weapons manufacturers get to make more money, print more money off the tax dollars of our people. Is that the only benefit? Like, what is the benefit?
No, you can't say that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't agree with that.
All right.
I don't believe that NATO has been a force for good. I believe
fine.
it's the exact type of entangling alliance that our founders were unanimous in recommending that we don't get involved in. And Cenk, you can say I'm wrong, but dude, you're as anti-war as I am. So why are you standing up for the European
Let me tell
wing
you
of
why.
the American empire?
Hold on.
You know what this is, Cenk.
Dave, he's saying we're both.
No, hold on. So listen.
I know.
You're both wrong and you're both right. So listen. I love, first of all, just quick side note here, that nobody
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
can tell who's left or right anymore. This is
Do you
beautiful
know what?
American
That's
politics.
exactly what I was
now-
thinking. The whole political pendulum
Right.
has completely gone crazy. Where if we had this debate 20 years ago, everyone would have known who the right are and who the left are. It is impossible anymore to define people in the way that we used to, and I like that.
I love it. I love it because we're now using our minds and independent judgment and actually talking about policy rather than...
Yeah, some of us are. That's why it's funny because the left wing, the majority of the left wing, right? There's rare instances of Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, but the majority of the left wing all think the same thing, right? Israel evil, Palestine good, right? Same thing over and over again. The right wing disagrees. There's so many different sects of the right wing that disagree with each other about the Middle East. So there's a right wing that's using their brains, and then there's a small little bit of the left wing that's using their brains too. And the funny part is, when they start using their brains, like Cenk Uygur and Piers are talking about, they get shunned from the left wing. You know, people like Dave Smith get shunned from the left wing. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, they all get shunned from the left wing. You know, and that's why they call Dave Smith a right winger. He's not a right winger. He's not. He's probably more aligned with the left wingers on a lot of different things. But because he uses his brain a little bit and disagrees with them just a tad, they kick him out.
than strict ideology on either side. So now, look, I agree with Joe. The UN is very important. I know I'm a lone voice here these days in American media, but I 100% believe in the world working together. I think NATO is very important. I'm very supportive of NATO, and I think it has definitely been a force for good and has protected the alliance. Having said that, Dave is right. Just because you like NATO doesn't mean that NATO has to get closer and closer to Russia. I mean, Joe, you were saying that if you like NATO, then you should be for NATO expansion. How about if NATO said, okay, we'd like to expand into Chechnya in the middle of Russia? That's mental. That doesn't help the alliance. It hurts the alliance. It makes our job of defending both Europe and America harder, not easier. If we go and randomly put Taiwan in NATO, that makes no sense. So we've got to be judicious about who we put into NATO. And then now when we get back to, okay, NATO and America and Russia, the opposite side, have to get to an agreement, and that's good. We're all going to save money. We're all going to get to peace. We're going to save lives. We have to get to an agreement. But back to the negotiation. If two companies are having trouble getting to an agreement and they bring me in as a mediator, and then instead of helping them get to an agreement, I go, now I want money for my company. Well, that doesn't help the negotiations at all. It makes the mediation and the negotiation much more difficult because now you've entered a third party in there that had no business there, and he's demanding like some outrageous number, and then he starts attacking the people who brought him into the negotiation. Just so, look, we all want to get the peace,
Cenk, that's
protect
not it,
NATO
though.
without encroaching on Russia.
But Cenk, it makes no sense to see America as the neutral negotiator in that. Like, we're not coming into a deal to broker a peace. We are the other side of the negotiating table. Ukraine would have had to do whatever Russia wanted to do if we didn't give them a blank check. So it's just not exactly analogous. I mean, look, again, I think it's
Dave,
kind of
I agree with you on that. But then why are we attacking our own ally? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well,
other than the mineral rights,
totally,
lithium is in the batteries in Tesla,
listen,
just in case you don't know.
Well, also, I mean, never underestimate the fact that we are dealing with Donald Trump here, and if you said something to piss him off, he is petty enough to then go around and attack you for a couple weeks over it.
You know what? On that very point, there was a report.
It's about the money.
Well, there was a report in the Financial Times actually overnight, right to that point, Dave, which was that apparently Zelensky, when he was first told that the Americans wanted $500 billion worth of minerals, lost his rag so spectacularly with whichever American official was relaying this information that you could hear his voice apparently screaming down the corridors. And that presumably got relayed to Trump, who already has a bit of a bad feeling about Zelensky, going right back to when he first came into power and the whole thing with Hunter Biden and everything else. And Trump is, he does take stuff very personally. I always say he's got the thickest skin of anyone I've ever seen in public life, soaking up stuff that would kill anybody else. But he also has the thinnest. And he harbors grudges, and he'll use that against him. And I think that's a lot of what's going on with Zelensky. I think he took against him personally, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. I don't know if Donald Trump is necessarily letting his emotions cloud his judgment on the Ukraine issue. I don't know if there's much even happening with the Ukraine situation currently, but I do know that Dave Smith absolutely cooked everybody on this panel, in my opinion. And, like I said, he's becoming one of my favorites out there because I think he is one of the only people that can speak the truth on all of these issues. I don't know what the reasoning is for it, but he can speak the truth on all of these issues, at least what I deem as the truth. And he doesn't get taken off the platforms for doing it. So shout out to Dave Smith. He did great, absolutely destroying this woke panel here on Piers Morgan Uncensored, Cenk Uygur included. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Dave Smith versus this woke Piers Morgan panel, including our good friend Cenk Uygur.